We're live now, boys.
All right. So, hey guys. Anyway, that's the reason that the Rex can be immediately withdrawn is because there's available tokens that aren't being utilized for CPU at that time, and you can withdraw up to that amount. But once you hit that threshold, they're stuck there for up to 30 days.
So if there is a lot of
if there's
activity on the network, then you can't withdraw.
No. If it is fully utilized, you're stuck there for a minimum of probably 30 days until I'm sorry, not 30 days necessarily, but until one of the 30-day leases ends, that reduces that down to the point where you can withdraw your tokens from Rex.
Right.
We're back on live.
We're live. So this is the post Dan Larimer interview. Went 2.5 hours. We're just gonna keep on going. We got If you guys need the link to join the Zoom, you could join kind of like the attendees list, and I will pull different people in throughout however long we want to do this. We don't really have an agenda. We're just
kind of BS a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to go for 2.5 hours. I don't know how long I have here now.
Well, James, Lenny, what did you each find exciting or learn or that got your blood going about today's interview?
Lots of things.
Lots of things. I saw you at one point say in the chat that you were going to go back and rewatch that section like 30 times to figure out exactly what he was saying.
Oh, what was he saying when I said that?
I think it was about wrap tokens on EOS and using their BTC and their
yeah, he was just going into all those details about how you could potentially wrap tokens on EOS and the how did he put it, like validating the light headers from your own private chain, write contracts to validate some light headers. That I just want to hear all those technical details straight from Dan's mouth and sort of take it slow and digest it because it sounded super interesting.
I want somebody to go back and watch the video again and mark all the times where Dan had to say something and then made some smirk or some look away from the camera or some sort of head motion that indicates that we were on to some sort of topic that he agreed with and knew about, but just wasn't able to talk about. Like, I was surprised when I honestly didn't expect anything to be there, but when we talked about the treasuries wrapped into a tethered USD.
Oh yeah.
He didn't say, no, it's not something we're going to do. What did he say? You're going to have to wait and see. Well,
yeah,
that's kind of caught me off guard.
I think we burned everyone out. There's only 9 people on this one. We did the Untitled stream.
I'm not surprised. Bring them all on. Shit, let's get a 9-person Zoom call.
I'll put the link here.
What did you like, Lenny? You're on mute.
Overall, it's always good to listen to Dan and similar, and it was a lot of small pieces left, right, and center. The stable coin talks, and he doesn't seem to keep them in high regard nowadays. And I know in bigger community, there's been a lot of excitement to get B1 interested and similar. Could be a bit of an uphill battle, I believe. But overall, very good. Get a feeling of it straight from a horse's mouth.
It's nice to hear what they're doing. I agree.
I loved all the economics talk you guys went into. It was sweet to hear Dan talk about and how his whole vision for decentralizing everything and having peer-to-peer communication that doesn't rely on the internet. It seems like he's been talking about that more recently, and the shower coin stuff was super interesting.
A chain of blockchains where representatives from each chain. I'm like, oh, okay. Not sure how that works, but I'll trust you, Dan. It's over my head.
I'm just trying to check where everyone's at here. Let's see.
Well, Phoenix is in the.
Is that Phoenix? If that's him, I'll pull him on. I know him. But
pull them all on.
I don't want any dongs coming on here, man.
Worst thing you can do is kick them off. They can give us the middle finger, and you can let them go on. Nothing like a good little troll here and there.
Don't worry, Zach. I think we can take it.
Little dong never killed anyone.
There were some trolls in the chat today too. It's amazing that people find the time and energy to go out and watch a 2.5 hour live stream video and troll the whole time.
So yeah, we weren't able to moderate it really, the chat.
No, it's too hard to moderate that and ask the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Lenny, I'm gathering that you're involved with the Vigor DAC. I don't actually know you.
Sorry, I missed you. You checked on me, Lenny.
Yeah.
No, I'm a bit everywhere, but I must admit, since December 19, when I got invited into Vigor, this is what occupies my day and time and whatever. It's really interesting, but I got a varied background, but I'm no technical guy whatsoever. I'm just a guy who absorb as much as I can and calibrate, regurgitate, and spread around.
Right. Cool.
Zach, did you put the link in the?
Yeah, I'm just here sharing the link. I want to bring everyone on. This is a community, man. We're gonna have a community chat. I don't know how long we'll go. I don't know what we'll talk about, but I guess I need you guys to carry it while I spread.
Well, I may need to take a community bathroom break here in a second to centralize myself. But
I will say one of the quotes that stuck out to me from Dan, at one point he said, you can't consent to something you're dependent on, and with no consent, there's no legitimacy, which I think is just a killer quote.
There's probably so many killer quotes. If anyone's watching this and they're able to go through and cut little snippets, I know Colin from Colin Talks Crypto, whenever Dan did the Mike Mahoney interview, he cut a bunch of short clips and posted them on Twitter. If someone wants to take the ball on that, that'd be amazing. I'm a little burned out. I'm gonna be a little more burned out after this little chat here. And joining. Phoenix, come on, man. You're on the screen.
Kevin Rose, for whatever reason, just sent me a link to the EOS resource model. Is there a new website out there, or was that the old one?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, when you were talking about Kevin Rose, he posted that.
I saw that he. Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I gotta tweak him a little bit, because I've been trying to get him to come on the chat and for a while to learn more about what the PBE's doing behind the scenes, because we really don't know what they're doing. Just like they're talking to DAP Radar. Well, why are you talking to DAP Radar? What's going on there? What are you trying to make sure happens? You're engaging with these other entities. It'd be kind of nice to know why. What's the target? What's the what can we do to help out? How can we assist you in any way? Don't forget that you have a community to rely on. Just because you work for B1, we'll gladly support any initiative that would raise the level of the sea.
Chris Barnes just said Mike Maloney, not Mike Mahoney. Whoops. I think I messed that up. My bad. Man, I'm tired. I wasn't expecting to go that long.
You're tired because you're coming down from your energy drink high, because you're sitting there getting all jittery, man. You're click, 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 click.
Yeah.
So
no one wants to carry this. This is going to be the worst. So we're going to go from the best episode of everything he is to the most boring of us. Just
all right. So let's talk through it. At least he came out and said and admitted that the reason that they backed away from the community there was essentially because of the SEC agreement, right? And we suspected that. I wrote the article about has EOS lost his voice? Has Block One lost his voice, and tied it back to the SEC agreement and why I thought that they were going away from EOS to EOS.io and leaving Telegram and doing that. And he all but confirmed that today, right? He basically said they were worried about being seen as a centralized entity, and it wasn't just Block One protecting Block One. It was Block One protecting the EOS community, and that if they had been slapped with a fine and they had been shut down and seen as EOS as a security, then, be honest and blunt, we all probably would have been fucked. What would have happened? It'd be like the what's the other coin that got a major fine and had to roll some things?
Telegram. Ton got completely shut down.
So if that had happened to EOS and Block One, we really would have been up a creek without a paddle. And so I can appreciate that. Thank you for telling us. Would have been nice. I mean, they kind of did beating around the bush a little bit, but would have been nice to have a straightforward comment. Guys, maybe they couldn't though either.
Yeah, I do think it's valuable, actually, for the EOS community to not have, I don't want EOS to be block one chain.
Absolutely
and like,
not.
so like, yeah, I feel like it was a good thing for the community to learn, even though maybe it could have been done better or made more clear from the get-go. But I think it was good for people to realize that it's not controlled by block one. We have to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps.
No, it's not. And you know, I mentioned it there. I had a couple of partners that left CTU Emergency and left EOS almost wholly because of the perception that B1 had abandoned EOS and was just only interested in EOS.io and only interested in what they can do with EOS.io and selling it to, as an enterprise. Zach, you kind of talked about that, but selling it to other companies and governments and agencies and corporations, basically becoming a consultant to engage and push out that. So James, there was a disconnect really between what was going on and the perception of a lot of the community, because there was no real clear communication about what was happening, and people were speculating, and many people were wrong, and it hurt a lot. Not just, I mean, it hurt the token price. People got spooked. People sold, and honestly, it hurt everybody from a perspective of the dollar value associated with EOS. Now, Dan may not value that, but me, somebody who was building on EOS, someone who was relying upon the dollar value of EOS and retaining that EOS for the long run as an investment and a user and a builder, that hurt, because I could have flipped it over to BTC at that time, and then I could have quadrupled my holdings in EOS and had 4 times the resources if I was going that model. So I agree with Dan up to a certain point that we need to build a community. We need to have the resources to build a community, but there is a real associated value with the dollars and with having a token value associated with it. You can't ignore that and say, you know, it'll come. You got to be involved in it.
Scotty Paul Harris, Firestone, joining the call. What's up, man?
He's on mute.
Yeah, I recognized his name from Telegram, so I figured he was trusted. Wasn't going to throw up some middle fingers.
How's it going, y'all?
What did you think?
Oh, I thought it was great. You guys did a great job.
Yeah, you guys
pretty excited to hear that Dan confirmed that Bitcoin will have a trustless way to be integrated into Bitcoin or EOS. Sorry.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And then the UTXO stuff too. It was right before B1 June. The CTO, Sam of Everipedia, put an article out about using UTXOs on EOS for Bitcoin, and it seemed like Dan kind of confirmed that that's kind of like the idea he's running with at this point. So that was nice confirmation there. We asked about the big tech corporations. Cheney named some, rattled some off, and you could just tell one of them had to have been right, at least one.
Well, he admitted even there that yes, you know, those are the types of entities we would be talking to.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say we were talking to them. He agreed those are the types we'd be talking to.
And like, if you go back and look at what Dan how he used to talk about that stuff, it was a lot of like, he was looking for universities and data centers. And I think he even said nation states at one point of like potential candidates for being block producers on some global.
Yeah, I think so. I forget who told me, but whenever he was talking about nation states at that time, that was the Ivan interview, but early 2018. I'm hearing echo on someone.
I think it's Scotty.
Oh, my bad. Let me figure it out.
I'm gonna mute him.
That was Lieberland though, right, Zach?
Yeah, he was referring to Lieberland at that time.
Okay.
But what he said in that Ivan interview was that he envisioned block producers to be people who were already running nodes, and it wouldn't add an additional cost. Like running a block producing node has an infrastructure cost to it. But if you're already a large DApp or an exchange like Coinbase, Binance, they're already running full EOS nodes. Whether or not they're producing blocks or not, doesn't matter. They're already running the infrastructure. So the idea was that these infrastructure operators could easily just become a block producer, and they're not really adding a lot of additional costs. And that way they're not needing a high inflation rate to suck out of the network, I think was the idea.
So what do you guys think of, like, I have to think through what this could look like, but he mentioned like with wrapping Bitcoin on EOS, how the multi-sigs wouldn't actually be controlled by the top 21. He talked about having that sort of in some sort of private multi-sig.
Yeah. We kind of talked a little bit about that with Eves last time. Eve, when he was on the call, I wish we could get him back, but talked about whether or not the BPs would run that or whether it'd be another trusted entity. And Dan sounds like he wants to have further decentralization. And did you hear what he said though? He said publicly known, and that indicated
with reputations on the line.
Reputation, right? So you wouldn't just have random block producers that okay, maybe they have a net worth combined of $50 million, but they have access to $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. You would want to have qualified, recognized entities with a net worth more than that which they were custodians of. So that's I think that's where he was going with that. Trusted public. He said accounting entities. He said other entities like that.
I wonder if it'll be.
I'm upgrading everyone to panelists. We'll see if anyone has anything to say. We'll take the
we
risk
got
here.
a guy. We got MJ. Michael Jordan's in there. Here, come on.
Yep.
Perry.
Let's see if anyone turns their cameras on.
Come on, guys. We want to see you.
We're getting cyber attacked here.
Trusted identities only. Yeah. Come on, guys. I don't even know if Phoenix joined in. We see Scotty walking around now. All right.
Someone's here.
Perry.
Who's that?
Hey, look at that. We got Perry. We got another another writer on the team. I like it.
You guys got to unmute yourselves if you're trying to talk.
I didn't ask you to join the panel, but okay.
You're here now, man. You're here.
What's the community?
Perry, what did you think, man? What did you think about the conversation?
Well, there's a lot there. You guys asked a lot of good questions. I'm definitely going to go over the video for sure. But
you gonna write an article?
Yeah, I may write an article. Very likely. Yeah.
Good.
But the one thing I did get is the alignment of what Dan was saying and what Colin has been saying.
One token, one vote.
Yeah, and a lot of that long-term perspective versus shorter-term perspective, and that whole sensibility. So that's, for me, that's the biggest takeaway. But there's a lot there. You guys asked a lot of great questions.
What he also didn't get to in the interview, but I think, I don't know if we talked about it, Zach, but he did talk about it to us beforehand, is the staking pools and the length of still going back.
He said there's code for it. Like he said that the staking pools are in the process of being built. It sounded like they're not too far even off, which is incredible.
So each staking pool would still have 1/5 or a representative share of the votes, and the more tokens you put into each staking pool, the more share of the voting pool you would have. And of course, those that want to stake for longer periods of time technically have probably a better grasp of what's good for the network because they're invested in the long-term benefits of the network. So be interesting to see that. Hey, Phoenix is live now. All right.
What's up, Phoenix?
I do have
What's
a question.
happening, gentlemen?
What do you think?
If big entities like Amazon do come and become block producers, what does that do to, say, an individual?
Well, did you need to go back and read my article from a couple of times ago where I speculate on some of that? Now think about having a large trusted entity now being block producers for the company, and not just, I hate to say it, relatively unknown, regardless of how much EOS they have, relatively unknown in the world exchanges. I mean, honestly, who outside of cryptocurrency fanatics know who Huobi is? I mean, they don't, right? So if you have an Amazon, if you have a Google, if you have a Tencent, if you have all these Alibaba, these public corporate entities are block producers, that leads to other entities, other corporations, other people with large amounts of capital. They all of a sudden trust the network. All right. It's not about you, Scotty, with your 10,000 EOS or 2,000 EOS or whatever you have. It's about what does these other large scale corporations that would like to use a public blockchain now, what do they have to offer? And they have capital, and they have infrastructure, and they have employees, and they have reputation. And they start using the network, then all of a sudden you see that it's easier for Fidelity and for all these investment firms to see a value and be able to make a reasonable case to allow these tokens to be utilized as investment. It's just another chain in the whole adoption mechanism that we could see going down the road. So
I'll add to that. The like, if we just use Amazon as an example, they have Amazon Web Services, which is one of the most successful web services packages. It serves, I don't know, the majority of the internet is run off the Amazon cloud services. So like these huge corporations like Amazon getting their feet wet with ESIO technology is one step in the direction of actually using ESIO technology either for validating their own internal databases on chain for auditability purposes, or for actually using it for some kind of public data storage or business logic for decentralized applications that they may produce in the future.
So Scotty, it's big. All right, it's big.
Which is like, yeah, and then that's not even for token price. That's just like making the world a better place. We have better accountability for large corporations, and they're using systems which are holding them accountable and are publicly verifiable. This is, I think, where it begins.
I want to get Phoenix's opinion. He hasn't said anything yet. I know you got a big brain over there. What'd you think, man?
I thought you guys did an awesome job, and I think we all just got to realize, I guess, the position Dan is in. So obviously running Block 1 and I guess all the legal hurdles he must be encountering. I think it's difficult often to probably provide the community a direct answer on a lot of things. So I think from that perspective, most people understand that, hopefully. But one thing I did take away with it, and seemed to be an emphasis, was the acknowledgement by Dan that governance and voting for a lot of the apps and solutions that are being developed, I guess that seems to be an integral piece that still hasn't been solved. And I know Cheney wasn't a huge fan of diving into the playoff discussion, but it seems like that's actually like the doorway, if you will, to a lot of these other things that we're looking to do, which would include the worker proposal systems and this EOS foundation, how you essentially elect those founding members. Maybe not even just so much someone who holds the most EOS tokens. And so that I thought was a more novel approach, maybe, to solve something that plagues a lot of blockchains, not just EOS.
Well, we'll see. I think that used, if I remember correctly, was it the it wasn't the Ivan, or I think it was the Shrim interview where he talked about using that to choose moderators on voice. So I think voice will be the testing ground. One, you'll have real identities, right? You'll be able to identify individuals on voice. And then two, you can use the political playoff method with real individuals to see how it really plays out. What happens when you run into conflict, when you have three people that get 3 and 4 votes, and how do we play through that? So it's going to take a long time, Phoenix, to get this worked out, but he's got a testing ground for it now. So I think that we'll be the testers, if you will.
And I think if it seemed like we cut him off, like we gave him a good 5 minutes talking about the political playoffs. It's not that we weren't interested in the topic. It's just that our audience has already read the voice. Yeah. The audience has already read the voice post. They've probably listened to his last 3 interviews. So we wanted to focus on the topics that haven't been addressed yet and keep pulling it back into EOS. Like we tried to do that as much as we could. Sometimes we diverted, but we kept trying to bring it back to EOS, not necessarily even EOS.io. And that was kind of our goal. And thanks to Dan, man. That's incredible. 2.5 hours.
You guys did an awesome job, though. The one thing, though, I did take away from it, which I don't think we got a direct answer on still, and maybe I just need to revisit the video and the great interview you guys did, was the investment decisions by EOS VC or the groups to invest in non-EOS.io projects.
He basically
still don't think that seemed
it seemed like he either didn't know that much or he just didn't want to talk about it because maybe he didn't have a good answer. I don't know. The whole interview is kind of a blur to me. I can't remember exactly what his reaction was.
His reaction was that was money giving to B1 during the token sale, and it was not incumbent upon the community to be able to do anything with it. However, they're making decisions and doing things outside. Although I think we saw Brendan say something a few months ago that he was trying to re-engage with the EOS VC and kind of move it in that direction.
Well, I know they did the grants earlier this year.
the
Raider company
grants.
was one of them that got the $50,000 grants.
Correct.
But I know of a particular project, a community-based project in the EOS ecosystem that has been in touch with EOS VC, and they said that there's not any grants going on right now for a particular DAC that doesn't have equity to give away. Yeah. So for projects like that, which are like completely decentralized, autonomous, it's kind of like they said they wanted to support DeFi.
I'll be honest. One of the first reasons I got into EOS way back in October or September of 17, maybe it was even before that, was because I wrongfully assumed that bring Max on. Based on the Everipedia airdrop announcement, the fact that every EOS holder was going to get 30 IQ tokens, I think is what it was. And I thought, oh shit, that's going to be every EOS VC project.
That's what I thought too.
Tokens to its holders. The EOS VC, $1 billion. I'm going to get $1 billion worth of token, And I got excited and I got in, and I'll be damned if it wasn't the only project.
And I felt responsible for letting people down through this platform. I pitched EOS as this great thing. And one of the strengths of EOS prior to the mainnet launch was like, this company has $4 billion. They'll never run out of funding. And look, they're spending $1 billion on EOS projects. And a couple months ago, whenever I did a poll from the Everything EOS account on Twitter of saying whether the name EOS VC was deceitful, I also posted a video from the meetup in Seoul where Brendan Bloomer announced it. And he said, we'll drive value back to EOS, not EOS.io. He specifically said EOS. And I think that that's still a little sore spot, I think. For a lot of community
I do think that they have a bit of that mentality, which I agree with to some extent, of rising tide lifting all boats. So like investing in the EOS.io ecosystem is an investment in EOS because like you said,
no, James, because they're doing it in Ethereum. They're doing projects outside.
No, but actually that's actually a distinction without much of a difference from the perspective I'm talking about. Like Ethereum is just another blockchain, and with inter-blockchain communication with like between EOS.io chains or between blockchains, the point is that we like EOS.io or EOS is the third most liquid token like he was talking about. And like there's value of having your value on EOS. And Ethereum also has its own liquidity, so less so for Ethereum. But
when the Ethereum Foundation decides to give an EOS project some money, I'll feel the same way, James. But honestly, I'll play the devil's advocate there and say I don't buy it that the EOS community. I agree. We gave that money to B1. They can do whatever the hell they want to it, but we didn't give them whatever the hell we gave that money to affect EOS.io. I would really like to see it kept in-house. That's just my personal opinion.
I agree. Trying to steel man their position. Give them the
I think they're doing what's right for them. They're investing in projects that they think will benefit and give a return to their equity owners. Be quite honest with you. That's what I think. What did you
guys think when I brought up Peter Thiel? And he couldn't really say much, but he said basically they're involved. Strategic partners.
Man, we got the who's who now. We
surprising response.
Bonds, we didn't talk about NFTs, man. I'm sorry. I know you probably.
What I missed? Did he say like they don't care about EOS? Like what's going on?
I didn't get a chance to. I had my things on hand too. I was gonna promote Bones and the EOS art, but I just didn't get a chance. Sorry, man.
We just wanted to hear about Vigor, man. I know at least you got the launch date shout out in. Kudos on that, man.
What's Vigor? I don't know anything.
Man.
We got Rob. Wait, is that Rob?
I don't know. I have no idea. I just let
Rob.
That's not Finch.
Identify yourself, Rob. Rob who?
Got 45 watching. We got almost how many? We got 48, 12 on here.
One thing I didn't hear that I was hoping to possibly hear.
What's that, Perry?
Hello. Was the EIP2, the elliptic curve proposal that PIOS is looking for?
We kind of talked a little bit that beforehand, and he like I kind of mentioned it in the chat. He really isn't following too closely on any projects. Now, if that's a specific, I could have asked, and I think I saw somebody ask that earlier. Maybe it was you had asked that in one of the Telegram channels or on Reddit. But when you put Pios in there, he kind of didn't really want to talk about any projects. You see how he kind of froze when Zach put him on the spot. Come on, Zach, you don't ask that, and asked him, what
I let him out. I let him out. I was like, all right, I get it. I'm just gonna back off. It's fine.
But Perry, he said that before our chat that he's so busy on EOS, so busy building that he really can't follow projects. And there's some he knows about that he hears about internally, like the IQ, which is why I mentioned IQ and some of what they're doing.
Well, the way I would interpret that, I'll say it this way: it's difficult for me to believe that he's unaware of that, to be honest, or the proposal itself.
When was that proposal put out?
Aware of it.
When was that proposal put out? Was it like over a year ago now?
Let's see.
I think it was like October
so everyone's
19.
talking about Pios though. Has Mel been seen? I don't follow Pios anymore, but
October 19.
That point being, Perry, it's been a year almost. I mean, if he was going to do something or do something about it, if he was going to do something about it, or Block One was going to do something about it, we probably would have seen some GitHub repository input out there.
Who cares? Mel, I'm looking at Mel's Telegram right now. It said he hasn't been seen since a long time ago. So
yeah, that's true, absolutely. But that's also part of the nature of what's actually happening. So that has to be taken into account of the actual content of the project, right?
So I also have talked to some block producers about this, and making this privacy thing in the base layer kind of is a liability in a way. The US, I forget what part of the government, they put out like a $500,000 bounty for the first contractors that could break Monero, for instance. They don't want, it's a liability, because in EOS, every block producer is a known entity for the most part.
Let me ask it a different way. How do you think enterprise software will on-ramp blockchain in a big way without privacy?
They'll be on their own separate chain. Their chain could be private. They could post hash things publicly and only make public what they want. That's different than, I guess, private.
They're not going to store all their private state on chain on a public blockchain. It'll have to be through so they'll have private chains with some inter-blockchain communication.
So the government entities will have access to those private chains.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard rumors that there's a privacy working group.
And you believe that no state actor would be interested in their own private or their own chains that maintain privacy, but for a public access.
I didn't follow you there, Perry. Say again.
Well, are there any groups that are interested in the public having the right of privacy? Is there anybody in the game theory, if you play everything out, that would want?
Part of the thing about a public blockchain is that everything's transparent. Like, you don't have to be on a public blockchain if you want like privacy. You have to have either, like Dan put out an article like a year or two ago where it was like either radical transparency versus radical privacy, and you have to lean towards radical transparency, because like
there's also there's also just a technical question here of what you mean by private data on a public blockchain.
Yeah, like what specifically?
Like, because you can hash a document or encrypt a document and put an encrypted document on state on the EOS state. So if that's what you mean by storing private data on a public blockchain, that's possible today.
Okay.
If what you mean instead is that there's private to who, and like what is the implementation that we're talking about, I guess.
Okay, then let me ask it a different way, because I'm not stuck on one solution or the other. I'm interested in the general objective. How will privacy be achieved? True privacy true privacy, beyond any state, beyond any large actor, how will it be achieved on the blockchain? What will that look like?
Wouldn't be on a
POS or
public
not POS
blockchain.
or-
It wouldn't be on a public blockchain. It's either it's like the whole point is I get that there's reasons for privacy. It's just a different use case. Like Dan said, like he said before, millions of blockchains. Yeah, I believe that will happen. Millions of them will be private. Millions of them will be public. If you want to use a public ledger, it's all about like the transparency of it, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's specific to EOS. Okay, fair enough.
it's specific to several chains, but certainly EOS, I would say.
You mean like keeping your holdings private, like your total net worth?
Well, what would a bank account look like? The kind that we have today, your personal bank account.
I think
that didn't allow access by any party, intelligence agency, government,
private key.
your own bank account. The one that everybody since the birth of Bitcoin has been yearning for, that bank account. The one that Satoshi dreamt about.
No clue. No clue. Barry.
Silence.
Yeah, not gonna happen on EOS, I don't think, buddy. I think it's
Maybe not. You're right. Maybe not. Yeah. Okay.
I do get what you're saying though. Like you don't want to wear your bank account number on your forehead and have everyone see it. Like I get.
I've joked with Zach before. I have my super secret account, and then I have my public account. Then I have a couple of intermediary accounts. I've probably got 16 accounts, all created by different methodologies, all pointing to different, some point. I say that 1 or 2 point to different exchanges and different ways to do it. Just because there's some things I do like to keep somewhat private, and there's some things that are my public-facing accounts, if you will. But I know that eventually, with things like EOS Detective, I don't know if you ever played around with that, but there's some things that do a pretty good job of showing interconnectivity between accounts, and it's just the nature of EOS, and you can eventually probably figure out who most people are here and there by looking at how their accounts relate to each other. Go ahead.
I think you could have privacy at layer 2 also. So just like you could use an exchange, because an exchange is essentially the original layer 2. It's a layer 2 to Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin has fees to transfer, but whenever you're on an exchange, there's no fees because you're using their database as a layer 2 to a blockchain. So as we'll see, like more DApp layer trusted infrastructure, like DApp account, for example, I'll shout out Armand, he's in the live chat. Within their system, like I could send tokens to the DApp account EOS address, and people could see that Zach.vr sent tokens to DApp account. But once it's there, and then when I withdraw, they don't see like where those tokens came from, and you're trusting, I guess, someone. But if it's like someone with a high reputation, like you trust a bank, for example, to hold your money. Oh shit, Saeed's up in it. Sorry guys, I'm on a ramble.
All
here.
right.
But you could basically trust and
don't worry, Zach.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, man. I'm not
Well,
building this shit. Yeah, sorry.
I see EOS San Francisco. Man, where's your hat? I see too much head there, man. Come on, where you usually have the hat on there.
I know. I abandoned the hat. Recently.
Okay. Still
Got
warming
Saeed
up.
in here. What's
Too
up?
hot.
Saeed, what'd you learn,
Saeed.
man? What excited you today? Put you on the spot. Put you on the hot seat.
Did you watch it?
No, actually.
Oh shit! Look at him, man. Let's get him out of here.
All right, we got Ramon here. Maybe he could explain this a little bit.
Actually, I joined the webinar to learn more of what was said. I mean,
he said everything. EOS Moon. We're gonna have EOS 3 in about a week and a half. No, I'm joking, man. He said a lot of good things, but you got about a 2.5 hour episode to catch back up on.
Ramon, I was trying to explain something like DApp account, where you have this trusted account where you could have private token transfers in a way that aren't visible on like a block explorer necessarily, but you could still pass tokens in and out. I'm doing a terrible job at explaining this, but you're the one that built it. So
yeah, so I think it's more like layer 2, right? When it's using liquid account, it's not necessarily trusted because of course the contract right now as it is defined is trusted, but the keys are not with us. Keys are with the users. And so that's another version of, how do you make it easy for people? Like, I think the biggest problem it solves is all the issues around, RAM, CPU, net, which is like a big struggle for people in EOS world. Like when a newcomer comes in, says, and even nowadays, I think I see a lot of people complaining even about the wallets. Like people don't struggle with scatter and so on. So it's a matter of making that easy. And a lot of apps, like when we talk to these enterprise apps, which are using blockchain as a database rather than trying to create currencies, they don't care about scatter and complicated wallets, and what they want is on-chain data with easy access for users using emails. So I think there is a space for everything. I mean, I would say for enterprise, when we talk to them, nobody wants to integrate scatter wallet. Trust me, like that is not the way you would see blockchain to be used.
Agreed.
So with Saeed and Rahman here, man, I respect you guys so much. Like, what do you guys think of privacy and how do you achieve privacy on a public blockchain, especially with like supply chain? I think, speaking of use cases, like supply chain, if I'm managing a supply chain on a blockchain, I don't want the person I'm selling to see like what I paid for those same goods that I'm passing on to you. So what do you guys think about that?
My view is that privacy is use case specific, right? I mean, it depends on each use case, what you need to design. Like when you say supply chain, I agree. I mean, probably EOS is not the best blockchain software to support a supply chain kind of a use case. But now that we have these potential inter-blockchain communications, like if you see Liquid chains using Liquid apps itself, you can build those. It's not easy. I agree. Like EOS is not designed for this, but with the layer 2 solutions, probably it can work. Having said that, means of course I have not directly worked on supply chain solutions, but when we are working on some of the enterprise solutions where the enterprises are saying we do want to keep some private data which should not go on public, it's working very well with a private chain. See, the thing is, what is blockchain? As long as you have a private chain which can be hashed, like even if you put 100th block or every 100 block or every 1,000 block on a public blockchain, and you can prove that the private chain was never modified, the data is still audited through public blockchain. So it's a very simple methodology which some of the apps are using. And going forward, it depends what you really need on public chain and what do you need on private chain. So these kind of things, solutions can be built. But having said that, I agree with everybody else who is saying EOS was never designed for private data. It is as a public chain, it's very difficult to design these things, and you probably need to run a lot of infrastructure as an enterprise application to go and build those separate private chains.
Do you have an opinion, Said?
Yeah, I know multiple parties like trying to work on private data. Currently, there's some different approaches. I know one group or multiple parties in this group. Like, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share their name, but they're working together to make something of more like enabling privacy for enterprise applications on EOS.io. So that's in the work. That's been in the work for months now. I'd say almost up to half a year. But it's a large effort. Like, looking at the progress of this group, it takes a lot of planning, a lot of back and forth. Yeah, I don't know when it will be available, but it will be nice. It is really hard to do privacy on private chains. Even if you have a private chain, then you're still encrypting stuff, which isn't necessarily the best answer. Because I mean, you have all these multiple parties interacting. A lot of people actually on private chain, they just allow all the different parties to see everyone else's data, but that's not an ideal solution either. All those parties don't want to see each other's transactions and data. So it has to be really granular, essentially. Like if company A wants to share their data with only company B and C, while still allowing it to be on the blockchain. The solution is pretty complex, and that's probably why we haven't seen it yet.
Zach, I think we have a new format for another episode. I think we have
this is cool.
Let's see, what do we have? A 15 panelist group, and we just go out and throw a bunch of stuff at the walls and see what fixes. We'll fix privacy. We'll fix everything else.
Let's. Who wants to talk?
We got Q on. Q's got his own podcast. What did he think about today? Did he learn anything?
What's up, guys?
He's down here.
Am I here?
Yeah, you're here, man.
Coming through fine. Guys, I have to comment on the length of your guys' videos. I feel like when you guys had the interview with Eve last time when he was trying to send it to the moon, I literally did like a full, felt like a day of errands. I came back and you guys are still streaming. So you guys go forever, man. I got to give you some props for that. I hopped off. Oh, yeah. Appreciate it. I can always count on you for that, Gall. I hopped off when you guys were trying to pry the cloud provider secret information out of Dan there, so didn't get a chance, but I'm gonna go back and rewatch, man. How was it?
Yeah, well, we know you have at least 1,000 EOS, or you had at least 1,000 EOS at one time, so we know you got a lot on the line here. So
speaking of privacy,
it's $1 million EOS bet.
Sorry, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up. Sean, you learn anything today, buddy?
No.
No? Oh, come on.
I was so distracted by Zach clicking the pen.
I didn't realize how loud it was. I got this really sensitive mic, I guess, and I have these headphones from B1 June that block all the sound around me, so I don't hear how loud anything is.
But when you took a sip of the Bang energy, came together.
Oh. My bad, guys. My bad.
I've learned to mute every time I need to take a drink. I've learned that over the time.
I haven't, I guess.
Most disrespectful host ever.
There you go. Max is out there and enjoying the outdoor scenery. They're petting the dog. Is that your big pool in the background there, Max? I like it.
Yeah, that's the dog pool.
Is that where your $500 million yacht is out there in the pool?
Yeah.
So Max,
the bath toy.
Did he say anything today that made you support a what was it, a $20 trillion market cap? Or do you think
I didn't listen. I didn't listen. I was putting the baby down.
Seems like everyone on the post show didn't watch the show.
That was a 3 hour. 3 hours.
It was long. I don't blame anyone, man. I wouldn't be. Yeah.
I'm disappointed. When you sent the link, I was expecting Dan to be here. I was like, oh man, post.
Oh, you came for Dan.
You guys don't even realize. You guys don't even realize that an hour before the show, Sean and I were testing the software, and then Dan just pops in, and we're like, "Whoa!" he was also testing the link, and he's like, "Hey guys."
He just stayed on the whole time. I was downstairs putting a sink in, and he's like, "Cheney, get up here."
Yeah, that was fun though. I mad respect for Dan though. That was an incredible amount of his time. His time obviously is very valuable. So I thought.
How long was that?
So he was on close to an hour before we went live. We were just testing the software, making sure nothing would break, and then the live stream itself went 2.5 hours. So 3.5 hours. I hung out with Dan for 3.5 hours, guys. Put that on the public record.
That's awesome.
It was a blast.
And you could have done a post show with him, and then you dropped the ball on that.
His headphones died. We asked him. So before we went live, we said, Dan, we might go. We know we got an hour of your time, but do you have a hard stop? And he said, my hard stop is when my headphones die, and that's pretty much what was happening at the end. So we knew we had to sign off. We had the little Power Rangers sign off too. Dan came up with that. Dan came up with that idea.
Dan's idea.
Hey, has Dan made any reference towards Liquid Apps? Has he mentioned you guys at all, acknowledged your movement, your product?
I don't think he mentioned anything specifically. No.
I think that I think Liquid Apps is on the Block One documentation, or at least it's listed as like a third-party project on the Block One documentation.
Yeah, like just because Dan, researching all of these projects, like you said, it's like a job in and of itself. Like it's not like Dan's going to be an expert on anyone's technology. Yeah, he's heard of Liquid Apps, he's heard of Vigor, but he doesn't like understand like the nuances. He's never gone through the documentation. Like there's 300 employees at Block One. There's 100% many employees at Block One who know about Liquid Apps, who know about Vigor, who know about PIOS, which has been brought up a bunch of times. Like there's people that know about these projects. It's just not maybe Dan specifically, but Dan's like at the top of the totem pole. Like he gets all of the information filtered that comes to him.
What do you guys think of Dan's comment on the management of their resources, given the creation of accounts for? I think you were mentioning it wasn't voice. It was I think there was another aspect to your interview in which you mentioned, I guess, some concern with an attack on their resources. And
no, that was in relation to the creation of EOS accounts related to voice. Like, so the original purpose, the original intent was to give every voice account an EOS account. And he's saying they can't do that right now until they've got the proven identity methodologies totally figured out, or else they could spam identities on voice and then get a whole bunch of free EOS accounts and eat up the RAM.
There's precedence to that. So yeah. Bancor X, whenever they launched with their EOS to Ethereum relay, they were giving away free EOS accounts, and they're full EOS accounts. And someone from their team said that there were people that figured out how to extract the RAM from the free accounts, and they did it like by the hundreds to extract like pennies on each account. But they very much abused the system. Like this is a very real problem of if you can't stop that kind of a cyber attack, then you're just going to go broke trying to fight it.
So back when we had CPU emergency, we saw people would actually and there were a couple of instances, people spun up brand new accounts and would have no resources and would come to CPU emergency by the thousands. And all they were doing, if you recall, you could claim 1,000 free DICE tokens on DICE when DICE first started up. And this one guy literally got millions of DICE tokens. And what happened? DICE tokens 50x. This guy created all these accounts and collected thousands and millions of DICE accounts and made a lot of money from it from wherever he was situated from. But they would also do that with the free spins. They go out to DICE and do a daily free spin with our CPU. So people would really try just to make a few fractions of a penny and try hard in some situations.
Man, there is nobody in the chat that was like, ask Dan about DICE.
no,
not a single person.
Thankfully.
That is something that does come up, because if you look at even the betting application we have with, it's not ever PDM, Predict IQ, that particular application, it still relies on scatter and the creation of an account and all these things all these steps and hurdles, which I think for everybody on this call is probably pretty easy to do. But when you're thinking about just an average person who may not be aware of all the nuances with EOS, they take one look at that and it could be probably very overwhelming for them. So I think that's probably in addition to the other things we talked about today, it's probably just a major hurdle with some of these applications in terms of the UX.
So pure speculation. I meant to ask him this, but I really see voice as the gateway. I really see voice as the gateway to blockchain, because you're going to have a proven identity. Everybody's going to get an account. If they don't get an account, they can earn enough voice tokens over time to pay for an EOS account. And it's an easy methodology. And once you have your voice account set up and you have a methodology to line up or sign into your voice account, you don't necessarily have to sign into a wallet or have private keys at that point. They can have it and make it seamless, if you will. And so consider voice more like a MyEther wallet, or something like that. It's a social web log one, if you will, that can get you to all sorts of dApps and other logins. And you don't really have to know too much about a wallet. You just have to know your voice password. you know. So I think it'll be easier. I hope it'll be easier. If not, we're doomed, right? We got to make it easy for the masses.
So speculation time. I'm almost curious, and I think I asked this in the chat, if you guys think it'd be possible that there'd be some trial of sort of an in-purchase feature with voice sooner rather than later, because in addition to just creating an account, obviously, if you're going to take a bet on perhaps something like Predict IQ, that user may not have IQ tokens. They may not know what that is. And frankly, they may not have an interest in knowing what it is, but they may want to place a bet for the outcome of a particular event. So what do you guys think is the likelihood of seeing something like that? Is that something that's realistic? Or would that be something that each app would ultimately be doing on their own? I guess when we think about financial products, I would see that being a benefit not only to voice, but pretty much the entire ecosystem if a service was available like that.
I think that would be really cool. You mean like, so there would be betting natively on voice, so you could post some poll with your voice post and then have people bet on the outcome?
Yeah, so you have basically the two systems kind of working together, and then as opposed to the users needing to understand even what the IQ token is, because we have this financial product that would allow people to even with the credit card, maybe purchase USDT.
Right,
the IQ purchase is done in the background, so that those steps are abstracted away from the user. So it still has the token economics, but a new user doesn't have to worry about those things.
Sure. Yeah, I could see that either way. I mean, I could see also like on Everpedia having voice login and having, I know actually Everpedia is talking about social dynamics being integrated onto the Predict platform. I don't think they've given many details about that, or at least I don't know them, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be through voice. There'll be some collaboration there. That would be sweet.
Yeah, I mean, if you made both the ID and the finance available there, that would be really interesting. I guess the one drawback to that then would be the centralization or the dependency on only that solution for all the apps within the ecosystem. So I'm not sure how you get around that.
Yeah, I don't know. Cool idea though. You posted that on voice, didn't you?
I think I might have, yeah.
I
think I might have done that.
I thought the discussion of the DAC was interesting. I was hoping for more information on that, because that seems to be such an important piece to the whole picture, and we haven't really heard anything about it. We just heard that Kevin is in charge of that, but I think unless you're a block producer, you're probably not getting a lot of interaction from Kevin. But I'm very curious about that, how that may have gone.
When you say the DAC, do you mean the EOS Foundation?
The EOS Foundation, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts about what that is, the form that's taken at this moment, and where it's going. I'm very interested to hearing any details on what the state of that is.
I haven't been able to get anything. There was a press release, like when EOS New York, I think whenever maybe when Block One first announced that they're planning to vote soon, it mentioned an EOS Foundation and that it could be funded through almost what sounded like voter rewards. So since Block One has all of these votes, they could potentially use these votes to earn rewards back, and those rewards could fund a foundation, but that's still like very centralized. The way it sounds is if like it's reliant on Block One's tokens earning value to fund the foundation, and it's kind of Block One running the show. So I don't really know what their plans are. They've been pretty quiet about that, but I hope to hear something soon. I just don't know anything about it. Maybe Saeed's a block producer. You got any insight on this, Saeed? Any news on the foundation? Even there?
So Zach, EOS X confirmed?
Oh yeah. Yep. EOS X is still a thing. Mios, his voice, that was an interesting insight. I was glad I was able to get some unanswered questions. The burn steak, the shower coin.
Well, what was the steak?
The burned steak was.
He didn't answer that.
Well, I think he's BSing us.
He also didn't say anything.
Dude, just stop, Buns. We can't understand you, dude. Your mic is jacked up. You can't.
What answer, Zach? I don't think Dan mentioned one word about it.
About what? I don't know.
I think he's lagging behind.
Sorry, guys. I was inside. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yeah, I don't think Dan said one word about EOS X. You brought up the two things.
No, he just like smiled. It was what he didn't. It was what he didn't say that was important. He said he explained Mios. He had nothing to say about EOS X, and for obvious reasons, that means there's something there.
Send it.
So still going back to that speculation piece I wrote, and we talked a lot about legislation and tax. I still think that's how B1 relates the voice tokens back to the EOS network is going to be through a regulated exchange. It's probably not going to be a direct approach. They're going to have to track, I think, some way how much tokens are leave voice. So still speculation, but I think that's probably what the B1 project is going to be, a fully regulated exchange.
You don't think exchange links to other third-party regulated exchanges?
I think it'll be an exchange, just like most exchanges. That'll be an IBC form to all sorts of all networks. You can take your voice tokens and sell them right there, and immediately get Ethereum or Bitcoin or maybe even cash. If you want to, right there.
I think if they're doing an exchange, and for how long it's taken them to get this regulatory compliance, I would imagine that there'd be a fiat on and off ramp. I just can't see it any other way.
Absolutely. Totally.
Speaking of that regulatory compliance, did anybody else catch when Dan was talking about the voice token having value? He then said, at one point mentioned something about it not being in the United States, or maybe the people within the United States having to get a token that didn't have value. Hearing him talk like that is just so scary, obviously the crap that he's privy to with the regulators is just like, man, they're obviously just stifling the innovation so hard. It's like a scary thought, thinking that they could try to cock block voice from the US, and that they actually, I obviously think it's going to happen, but it's scary to hear Dan say it like that, that it could launch for everywhere else in the world and have the token have a value and not for the United States citizens. That's
all your congressmen. It sucks, but yeah, it sucked. I agree that I did not like hearing that, but
I don't think that's the case, guys. I think that was the case early on, but I think that any country right now that is already in voice probably has the ability to receive tokens, or at least that's my speculation on it. Otherwise they probably wouldn't have let us in voice. I forget there's a country list. There's at least 30 or 40 countries that are not allowed.
Well, the tokens have no value right now, so
they have no value right now. I agree.
Right.
So while we're on the topic of voice, Ola Art in the live chat says, I heard voice will have a big update where it will be a design by having different community groups. Users will be able to join communities. Isn't that update coming in October? Didn't Salah say that? With the communities? No. Can't.
There was
definitely coming.
Yeah, there was some update here recently. Communities, and that's the game plan. I don't remember the date.
It did sound really positive that Dan said this year, when you kind of were trying to press him on a date about he said quite possibly was his exact quote when he said this year. I don't know. It sounded positive to me. Maybe I have the rose-colored glasses on, but
yeah, it's gonna. Oh man, this weekend I'm gonna have to rewatch that whole thing. But luckily, whenever it's not live, I could rewatch it at 1.5x, or at least, probably not 2x, but 1.5.
Well, it's 1 year from the SEC agreement, fine, whatever settlement. Will be 3 weeks from today, actually. October 1st or September 30th will be the 1 year anniversary. I don't know if there's any associated requirement, probably not anymore, the way they're engaging with the community again. But
yeah, Cheney, I have to commend you on that great job of questioning Dan there on the year of silence. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Hard journalism. Hard journalism.
Dude, you have no idea how much of a journalist this guy is. I've got 7 pages of notes in front of me that he put together
and 15 pages of tweets and telegrams messages.
Yeah, this guy is.
Janie's got the voice too.
Mm-hmm.
And Zach, the agenda, man. We had a fucking agenda.
Yeah, that went out the notes were useful though.
1, 2, 3, 16, 14.
Yeah, but like you gotta go with the flow sometimes, man.
I know.
And I had to jump into the Wrap Bitcoin because he mentioned Wrap Bitcoin. Then he
agree.
got away from it. And I was like, let's get back to that Wrap Bitcoin. That's exciting.
I agree.
The agenda went out the window when Cheney led with the dead cat.
Hey, I feel sorry for the guy. You know, I feel his loss.
The first 5 minutes of the damn show was just Cheney talking
about cats.
Dan seemed hyper aware of like the outside community, outside of EOS, like what they think about it and the flack that EOS gets kind of from that side. But I wonder, did you guys ask him about kind of the sentiment that the block 1 maybe is moving too slow? Did he have any response to that?
He did. Well, he did say that even he thought that things are moving slower than he wished they would. And he also, what was the first thing you asked?
He said the 9 months ago, the initiative for the resources should have been done.
Yeah, the code was released and actually the community was going too slow. He also said block 1's going slower than he would like as well. But yeah, he mentioned that.
Lawyers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What else was good? So he verified. And what did you guys take away from the Wrapped Bitcoin? Like, I still don't understand how they're gonna do it, but it sounds like it's soon. And then he said soon TM also.
Yeah. Classic.
And then one time, Shaney, I don't know if you noticed it, but whenever I had your screen up full screen, like Dan noticed that he wasn't on screen. He got up and ran to the back of his room and slammed the door shut.
No, I didn't.
Because he knew no one could see him do it. It was funny.
Let's see. I'm just going back through here. We talked about voice. We talked about the RAM fees associated with it. At least we know. Did he ever really confirm that now wasn't the time for marketing? What was his response there?
I don't know.
Basically said until we have a back end ready to keep the users on board. So we know that we're not ready for marketing yet.
He also talked about pumping the price of EOS and how that's just not a priority. Like if you're trying to increase the price of EOS, what you're saying, to paraphrase Dan, was something like you want to get out by somebody else going in, and that's sort of Ponzi mentality, and that's not the type of thing you want to build a community on.
He's not buying dinners with Buffett, is what he said.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we didn't talk anything about the SEC waiver, SEC agreement. The mining,
So
go ahead.
He said something about EOS pivoting in a way into more of a currency. So that's why it didn't really make sense what he was saying about the price, because if you look at EOS like a community currency, you want to buy things with EOS. So the value has a direct correlation with your purchasing power. If it's a currency, you want to be able to purchase as much as you can with that currency. And it's not exiting the system and selling it to the next sucker. It's I want to buy resources, or I want to buy access to this application. You want to get the most bang for your buck. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, he's also assuming that everybody's going to dip out when the price kind of goes up. What you want to do is kind of have the people in your community have more resources to spend on the community. And that's what we see happen in DeFi. Wi-Fi is literally building an ecosystem out of thin air. And so if EOS price was $20 hypothetically, or 1,000, what could we do with that amount of capital? What would you be able to do at everything EOS? I don't know, make it better, most likely.
Do more of them.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is all volunteer work.
That sounds like a marketing campaign. What would you do with more EOS?
Got a lot of exposure to EOS. Irresponsibly long.
I didn't hear a question about his victory dance. I mean, when he makes a product announcement, what is he going to do? Like Vitalik or
I'm not sure Dan has much motion in the ocean there, man.
I wouldn't expect
it. Who says Dan with the nay or who says Dan with the twerk?
Although
on predict.
Where's the gangster Dan picture? We need the gangster Dan picture up there.
I debated that. I asked the writer team. I was like, for this YouTube thumbnail, which picture of Dan should I use? Is that you, Sean, that suggested the gangster Dan?
That was me jokingly suggesting.
I thought about doing it.
What did you guys think about the smart contract that holds on to resources that allows people without resources to conduct business on EOS? I thought that was a cool idea.
Yeah, I want to hear more about that. I didn't fully understand. I think I need to go rewatch the video.
Talking about in relation to the wrap tokens or just in general?
No, that was the shower coin question. Yeah, shower coin question, is that?
No, he was saying that maybe it was a shower coin, that there would be a smart contract that say had 100,000 EOS worth of resources, that anyone could come in, make a transaction on the EOS net blockchain without actually needing the resources themselves. The application would just charge the smart contract with 100,000 EOS worth of resources.
Seems like a vector for planning.
Like a health system, like the universal healthcare, kind of like a universal resource for anyone who just wants to come in and use available resources.
Maybe I missed that part. I do remember him talk. Maybe this is what you're thinking of. I remember at one point he was talking about contracts being able to pay all of the resource requirements for their users.
And they should be able to today.
Yeah, I don't think it was like one contract, unless I missed that part. I thought he was just talking about the capability for contracts to pay for users and how that was actually the original intent.
That was the original intent. It was never incumbent upon the users themselves. And it sounds like that wasn't his plan to begin with. He made it sound like that was a late stage change, that originally users weren't supposed to have to worry about resources, but they made that the way it worked.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about the resource model changing, free up that CPU. I didn't agree with him, honestly, about I really feel like if Block One had unstaked their CPU, at least it would have freed up more resources, not just for the spammers. It would have freed up resources for everybody across the whole in equal measure to the amount of resources they currently had. So it wouldn't have just given it to the spammers. They would have had a larger share because they already had a larger share of the existing resources. So I kind of disagreed with them there. I'm excited about the staking model and opening up a little bit more way, because now you have to make a decision, right? Now, do I go ahead and rent my resources so I can go out and I can mine box tokens, or I can go out and do X, Y, and Z, or do I go ahead and try to see what the return is on Rex? Maybe the return is pretty hot.
That was something exciting with the new resource model, how when he was talking about having a price floor for resources, that's inevitably going to bring up the APR of Rex.
What is it, like 0.25% right now? Something ridiculously low.
It's nothing, like there's no incentive to lock your tokens in Rex whenever there's all of these other opportunities to kind of use your EOS in different ways at this point.
And then the staking pools, I'm going to have to go back and reread that article and figure out exactly how much value's there.
This was definitely the most dense interview that I think I've seen of Dan. He gave a lot of very, I think we're all going to be going back and forth on that video for some time and really trying to understand.
Too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never been interviewed by people that have been following the project so closely for so long. I mean, Ivan's very familiar with like the wider crypto space and especially Ethereum, but like those interviews are for a more general audience. The Everything EOS audience, man, you guys are just like me and Shaney and everyone else. It's just like you have a level of abstraction. You don't have to explain things because we already know the underlying like foundation knowledge, and we could just build upon that and just have a higher level conversation. I think that was very valuable. I agree that I've never heard him discuss a lot of the topics we brought up with him, and I'm just everly thankful that he was willing to talk about them publicly and on a live stream.
And as long as he did.
It sounded like he was talking to his fellow employees in his own office. He wasn't really really oversimplifying a lot of the stuff. He gave us some good details, so much that I literally couldn't keep up with runtime with what he was saying, and I'm going to have to go back and re-see it.
And we even had B1 employees in the chat talking with us. That was Ash was there.
I pulled him up on screen.
I saw that.
I think one of the times I pulled up Sean saying something about the Bang Energies. I think I was like, I regretted it immediately because whatever Dan was saying was something that would probably be
distracted
really
him. You weren't paying attention.
I was making a joke. I'm sorry. But yeah, I was like, damn, I shouldn't have did that because he was saying something that like you could make a short video clip of because it was something important. I was like, damn, I just ruined that one.
Bang Energy.
Oh well, I gave the gift of the 2.5 hours. So sorry, I messed a few things up with the pen clicking and the stuff on screen. Sorry, guys.
So
Zach, how is this interview different from when he was sitting down with Brendan? And you guys were interviewing him a year ago.
Dude, when we interviewed him a year ago, we had a 30-minute time block. So we had to cram everything into 30 minutes. And we had to submit all of our questions in advance. Just like we sent Dan some topics we wanted to talk about. He didn't say no to any of them. So,
he asked not to go into detail in the SEC. He didn't want to get too much into regulation, just from the standpoint that he probably thought the lawyers might see that as an issue. So we stayed away from those questions. But
Justin Buck, everyone.
That was it.
Welcome.
So Zach, I think we need to get Kevin Rose turned on. I think I've pressed him enough times now that maybe he'll capitulate and give in. I mean, they are the PBE. They need to talk to us.
Salah.
Maybe we do to see if Salah will get on and do an interview. That'd be pretty cool to have him talk to he's talked a lot to the voice community. And he even mentioned one time about, the relationship with EOS, but he's never really gone into any detail about it. So an EOS specific interview related to the voice would be cool. And then I think this is kind of a neat setup. Have, get a dozen people on there just to BS about EOS and what's going on and that sort of thing. So pretty nice to have everybody. I think I'm going to call it quits. We almost made it 4 hours. So
I got a final thought for you. If anyone's doing the DeFi and anyone's a DeFi degen, Dan mentioned that he just reiterated the hidden risks within these DeFi projects. Even the best intentioned DeFi products, if they're offering over 5%, what Dan said is that there's some hidden risks in the tokenomics and
for short term.
For the short term.
That's short term. It's not going to be an extended APR.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just a takeaway to keep reminding people of. It's fun, and I love the ride, but be careful out there. Public service
derivatives on derivatives on derivatives. That's not probably going to end too well.
It's so fun though. But it was good seeing all you guys. I'm gonna check out of here too. But much love to all you guys.
All right, I guess we could do a little week. Go EOS. Thank you guys for joining us and sign off. Go EOS.
Go EOS. Go EOS.
Go EOS. Zach. Good job.